What's up, guys? My name is John Baker. I serve as the Assistant Director of Admissions here at Blue Mountain College. If you're not familiar with us at Blue Mountain, we are a small four-year private Christian college located in North Mississippi, about 30 minutes above Tupelo, but right on the Tennessee line, so not too far away.
Awesome. A great location as well. And so we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about first some admissions-based things. But what I want to start with is for y'all, when does the admissions application typically open? Is there kind of like a start date for that, an opening date? And what about deadlines that are associated with the application?
Gotcha. One thing that you will hear me say 100 times this meeting is that we are a very, very, very flexible college. Whenever people ask for exact deadlines, the only deadlines that we really enforce are those for like our top tier scholarships for high ACTs. However, when it comes to deadlines for applications, we actually do not post any form of deadline. They usually open up around the 1st of August. So whenever school is kicking off for this incoming class, we'll actually start accepting applications for the following class right after that. So literally, we always just encourage people to start in August.
Awesome. Okay. So a little bit of like a rolling thing there, not a lot of deadlines associated with it.
For sure.
Now, what about a certain ACT score or GPA that would ensure an academic scholarship? Anything around that?
Gotcha. Okay, so an 18 on the ACT is required for admission to BMC, and we actually start our ACT scholarships at 19. So it's right after acceptance, pretty much. Any
Awesome.
other form of scholarship, such as like an athletic scholarship, you need that 18 in order to receive any money if you want to play soccer, basketball, you name it.
Okay. So
So,
that's kind of a requirement around that as well.
right, right.
Awesome. Now, what about this is happening a lot for our colleges in the area with super scoring.
Mhm.
So, what about an ACT super score, whether that's admissions purposes or for scholarships?
Gotcha. We absolutely 100% accept SuperScore. It has saved a lot of students in various capacities from being able to get accepted into the college, from to getting a higher academic ACT scholarship, to even one of our biggest scholarships, which is called the Heritage Scholarship Award. It starts at 27 on the ACT. They have actually used their super scores to get that 27 and so that it can apply for the heritage to receive the 50, 75, or 100% tuition
Awesome.
coverage.
That's good to know as well. So, all around the board, ACT super score, good to go.
Yes, like I said, it makes my day when I can tell a family like, "Hey, you made a 26 on this ACT, but when you've got your super score involved, we can bump that up for you."
Yes, that's awesome and good to hear. And so, in kind of the realm of talking about scholarships, is there a separate scholarship application required, or is that kind of like a holistic like process with admissions? What does that look like?
Okay, so we actually have a piece called the scholarship application, the general scholarship application. And what it is once a student has applied, we turn around and we'll send them a link to the online general scholarship application. It's there where they pretty much give us their just general information, but they'll also put down their ACT scores if they're in contact with a coach for a scholarship in athletics, or if they are interested in any of the fine arts. If they are in talks with Miss Mitchell for a theater scholarship, that they put it down. But even though they may not be in talks with a coach or department head just yet, we will sometimes take their information off their general scholarship application and feed it to the departments if they are looking for people. So as long as we have the general scholarship application, we can work magic.
Awesome. So that's an important piece for students to be like, hey, you
Very,
need to fill out this general scholarship
very,
application.
very, very,
Perfect. Okay.
very.
Awesome. And so I know that you kind of talked about, was it the Heritage Scholarship that you mentioned?
Yes.
Okay. Outside of that, do you, and I know you've talked a lot about sort of like specific departmental types, theater, fine arts, athletic scholarships. What about any other unique scholarship opportunities that students might have access to?
Gotcha. Okay, so like you mentioned, anything in fine arts and athletics, we definitely push. We also have several publication scholarships for yearbook, newspaper, any type of publication. But I would say one of our best scholarships actually feeds from the Heritage Scholarship Award. So, like I said earlier, the Heritage Scholarship starts at 27 on the ACT. We look at everything: ACT, GPA, leadership, volunteer experience. That is your entry ticket to, if you send it in, you're automatically going to get the 50, 75, or 100% tuition coverage. But it is also your entry ticket into the President Scholars of Distinction competition. And it is through the President Scholars of Distinction competition that we give away our full rides. And so we actually had around 20-ish heritages come in, heritage applications come in this year, and we had more 30s than we've ever received, like especially in the past 5 years of me being here. But it was a 27 on the ACT that ended up taking first place for the
Wow.
full ride. And so it was pretty wild. He's awesome though. But
Yeah.
I would say the
So
president's, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say with that, there's not like in order to be eligible for that, you have to have a 30. Like it's
Right.
basically just okay, that's really awesome to know.
We do a big interview day where they
Mhm.
come to campus and they actually sit down with a scholarship panel. And there's different activities that they'll do. Sometimes we send them a book ahead of time and they share about stuff from the book. Sometimes we have fishbowl questions, which are everyone's least favorite part of the interview. And then sometimes we actually schedule one-on-one interviews. So this kid may have a one-on-one interview with the president of Blue Mountain College, while this one may be with our provost and vice president of academics and stuff. So
Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I think the fishbowl question would be my least favorite as
no
well.
doubt. Everybody expects. We even had a kid this year freak out just because he was like, "I'm scared they're going to ask me something," and I'm like, "Dude, these questions are not going to be like
Right, we're
the
not
worst
gonna put you
questions."
in a situation where it's gonna be,
Right.
like you're just left in the dust.
Exactly. So we actually went as far as sending out the fishbowl questions this year so people could go ahead because stresses have been high and we did
Right.
not want to freak anybody out. So we actually sent the big questions ahead of time.
Preparing students for success. I love it.
Absolutely.
Now, outside of scholarship opportunities, we talked a lot about that, but we know a huge piece for students, especially with, financial aid, the FAFSA. So is completing the FAFSA a requirement for admissions and then maybe even for scholarships, if you want to speak on that?
Gotcha. I would say we try to do our best to require the FAFSA. If you are going to receive any type of institutional money, we have to have your FAFSA on file with us. There have been several situations where families didn't want to disclose that information to the college of their finances, and they paid out of pocket. However, if you are going to receive any type of scholarship with us, we need your FAFSA on file.
Okay, that's very good to know. And with that, what about a priority date? Is there anything like that around the FAFSA for scholarships or anything like that?
We will sometimes advertise around May 1st or March 1st. However, like I said at the very beginning, we are so flexible. I can't tell you in my 5 years like lessening a scholarship for someone that applied in May or
Mm,
June or July as opposed to someone that applied or in the fall. So
yes.
we're not big on deadlines except for the big heritage deadline.
Okay, and this is basically already been answered, but with a last ACT scored date, there is that also just kind of flexible in like if somebody, is taking it in December or April, do you have like a deadline for the last ACT
We
or
do
like a date?
We
Okay.
do not. As far as that goes, we actually have students just waiting for the ACT right now, but
Mhm.
we offer residual ACT testing for those that
Okay.
are missing their big deadlines of not signing up for it in time. And we have actually had to order extra for all the students trying to get their ACT up a point or two before the
Okay.
school starts in the fall.
Awesome. Okay, great to know. And another thing that students, are always kind of like worried about or thinking about would be housing.
Right.
So when does a housing application typically open? Is there kind of like an open date? And I feel like I may know the answer to this, but the housing app deadline, is there anything around that for housing?
Okay, believe it or not, I actually just helped a student fill out their housing application today for next month.
Okay.
So I will say, even though COVID had us a little scared for the fall,
Mhm,
our housing is full. So there is a waiting list for students trying to get in next month,
mhm.
but it's usually first come, first serve. So
Okay.
we usually advertise, try to have your housing app and $150 deposit in by May 1st to
Okay.
guarantee housing. But even still, we'll still work with them.
Awesome. Is there a certain date that it opens, like in availability for like an upcoming class, like our rising seniors right now?
We usually will say we'll start in August, like with the
Mhm.
application. We'll go ahead and start saying, "Hey, we've received your application. Feel free to go ahead and submit your housing app and deposit." And so we can go ahead and guarantee that for them the following fall.
Perfect. Okay. So around the same time.
Yeah.
Um, what about any new or like unique programs that we should be telling students about that are happening for y'all right now?
Okay, so we are pretty pumped right now. We are starting men and women's soccer. So that is actually starting with us this fall. We've been helping our new coaches recruit like crazy. We've got a ton of new international students coming in because of it.
Okay.
Also, we are in the process of developing our first nursing program on campus. And so
Great.
there's three phases. We've completed phase one. We're in the process of trying to get approved for phase two, and then phase three will happen once the program is on campus. So yeah, and then I would say probably one of the next best things is we just added sports. What's it called? Sports. The kid from yesterday. I know this is really lame to say on a recording. We're adding new majors like crazy. We don't even have a copy of the PDF just yet,
Hey,
but
it's like fresh. That's good though.
yes,
That's good for
very
counselors
fresh.
and other students to know.
Right.
So,
It's one of those things where when we're recruiting for athletes and everything, we are trying to accommodate the best we can to provide what they are interested in studying, so that they don't only get to play a sport with us, but they also get to do what they want to do once they graduate.
awesome. So I feel like one of the follow-up questions was any other new or exciting things we should be able to share with students, but I feel like you shared that a little bit. But are there any other pieces of things that are happening on campus or buildings that are being updated, anything like that that you want to add?
Right. I will say we are in the process of clearing a lot of land to start expanding the campus. One thing about going to a small rural college, we have a lot of acres to play on. And so they have been doing dirt work all summer trying to get ready for the new math and science facility that's in the works of being built. Also, we are expanding our parking because we are a
Mm,
smaller place and people are always fighting over it. But between the development of our new programs and everything and the buildings required for them. There's even a ton of work going on at our sportsplex right now where they're
mm.
expanding powerlifting facilities, locker rooms. Our men and women's golf facility just got doubled. Just a lot of exciting things going on trying to get ready for the fall.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Um, and then we know that this past year, not only for just everyone in general, but for students, it's been difficult, right? With learning virtually, routines being disrupted, all of the different things that students have had to go through.
Right.
Um, what resources do y'all have available for students to address some of these issues, whether it's, career centers, mental health services, etc.?
Gotcha. We actually offer free counseling for any student. It's usually within reps of our psychology department that will constantly make students and their mental health a priority. So if there was ever any type of counseling needed accomplished or any form of just getting something off their chest to help them cope with what's going on in their lives or around them, we you will not only find it within those who are licensed psychologists, but I know even from this past year, students are struggling big time trying to cope with everything. And you will find with us being a smaller campus, a lot of our faculty staff have incredible relationships with students. And so we are constantly making ourselves available to help
Mhm.
with whatever they're going through. I know even from experience, we had one of our student recruiters come in and just have a breakdown this past semester. And what it is we sat with her, listened to her,
Mhm.
encouraged her, and then helped her just get through that week so that she would be back the following week. So I will say also one thing too is I know a lot of GPAs tend to struggle when stresses are
Mhm.
high. We actually have something called the Teaching Learning Center, TLC for short, and we actually have a Dr. Teague that heads up the entire program. It's a huge room designated for 10 max, 20 PCs, and a line of tutors. These
Mhm.
are tutors that are 4.0 students, transfers from Phi Theta Kappa with Phi Theta Kappa memberships, you name it. And they are there, even if somebody is doing great in English but stressed about a paper, they'll help write the paper, they will help proofread the paper, and then they will be there for any follow up. So we try
Awesome.
to make that as accessible as possible for students.
That's wonderful. And so basically, we've kind of talked through everything, but do you feel like there's anything else that you would want to share that would be beneficial for high school counselors to share with their students? Anything at all that you feel like we didn't cover that you want to make sure that you share for Blue Mountain College?
Gotcha. I'll say I know that we've been known as a preacher teacher college and a smaller school. I'll say that is changing. We are getting all sorts of students from bigger cities, smaller schools. We are doing the best we can, not only to just equip them for some type of ministry or teaching, but we're putting out people that are getting accepted into physical therapy schools, occupational therapy schools, optometry schools, med schools like crazy. And part of that is whenever you have a student body of 700, the amount of one-on-one time with that accountability between a faculty member and their student is so
Mhm.
much higher than it would be in a larger classroom setup. So I know we had a girl that graduated. All she wanted to do was physical therapy. She got accepted into 3 PT schools and actually got to pick her favorite out of
Oh,
the
that's awesome.
and we're seeing that like crazy right now with any pre-professional program. So there
That's
are major perks to going to a smaller school.
absolutely. I love it. And I just appreciate you sharing all of this information. I know that it's going to be really beneficial for not only our counselors, but our students and for us to hear these updates. And so I just really appreciate you taking the time to share all of this. Um, and yes, thank you just for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate that you guys making this a priority for the counselors.